Hey, I'm Frank.
And I'm Justin.
And today, we're doing something today, right?
Yeah, we're going to review the movie Ready Player One.
Yeah, the Steven Spielberg movie. That's new.
So yeah, I guess we should do that.
All right, cut to the intro. So, Justin, what is Ready Player One? Let's at least preface the audience with that.
Okay, for those of you who do not know, Ready Player One is the newest movie from Steven Spielberg. You know, Spielberg. If you don't know who Steven Spielberg is, there's something wrong with you. You need to get out of that rock you've been living on.
Google it.
So it's based on this book by Ernest Cline, who co-wrote the screenplay with Zach Penn. And what it is it takes place in the year 2045, primarily around some place in Ohio, where the state of the world has gotten to a point to where it's more like, I would say, something like India almost in a sense, to where people are literally living in stacks because of the way the world and the economics have gone. And basically people drown their sorrows and escape reality because reality as they know it kind of sucks. So they wear these virtual reality headsets called the Oasis, and then when you put it on, it takes you into, you know, a crazy virtual world like no other.
The story essentially starts off where you have James Halliday is the creator and owner of the Oasis. He dies and leaves a amazing contest to its players and to the people of the Oasis. If you gather these 3 keys, and you will be able to win the Oasis, essentially $500 billion and control of the Oasis, the virtual world.
Yeah, it's a fun little Easter egg scavenger hunt of sorts for those, obviously, if you play games and everything, you're very aware of Easter eggs. And so this is essentially what the movie is about. Right. It's a fun little journey, but of course there's real world consequences. With that amount of money and power comes the struggles between our main character, Wade Watts, who's better known in the Oasis world as Parsival, and he has to go on this quest along with his fellow friends in the Oasis, H, and the love interest, whose name is
Artemis. So we're not going to spoil anything, but with this intro, we're going to at least give you an idea of who the characters are, who you've seen from the trailer, and we'll make sure to put that on screen so you guys have an idea. This is what you know. Unfortunately, because it was a book, there's obviously a lot of things that were spoiled probably from the beginning about the story. Mm-hmm. But the journey is what's amazing about this movie. And I'll just say it right away. I love this movie. A lot of times when you watch certain movies, they have these issues where they put member berries or, you know, nostalgic moments that are just there just to get the audience, you know, heart racing or get you to remember things. This movie has a lot of that. I mean, pretty much this movie is that.
It plays completely off of nostalgia, but it does it in a very good way.
Right. Yeah. And the fact that the way that they do it feels natural. It feels like the natural progression in the story. They're not like, hey, look it's Yoda. Remember him? Hey, look, Luke Skywalker. It's him. You remember him too? It's not like that. It does it in a way that feels natural. I never, one moment watching this film, really felt like anything was misplaced or was just there to get in a rise. It was there. Yeah,
it all makes sense. Not just within we both read the book. He read the book first. Told me you'll like this. I did definitely like it because of all the pop culture references. This movie definitely plays, and the book as well, off of nostalgia, member berries for those who were around in the 80s and 90s, and it plays off of a lot of things like that. Even current things that are popular now. There's cameos of things like Overwatch, Bloodborne, a lot of more popular things. Mm-hmm. Whereas the book was more around 80s culture, I would say. Rush, Atari 2600. And a lot of that 80s. Is here too, but it does feature a lot of things from the 90s and the 2000s as well. And it does so, it makes sense completely within the realms of what the world is, who the creator James Halliday is, and why all these things would be very influential for the characters in the world that it is.
Right. So, Justin, before we get into, we will have some spoilers, but before we get into this, what did you like? What did you not like? And then how do you like? Would you recommend this to the audience?
Okay, so with a little bit of prefacing, this is the movie, and I know it's only March, but this is the movie of all year of all the movies that are going to be released that I wanted to see, because I very much enjoyed the book. I enjoyed the journey. It was a fun little, like a scavenger quest, an Easter egg hunt. It was a fun adventure, and I was along with the characters, Parzival or Wade, and Artemis or Samantha the entire time. What I really liked, and my review is going to be more of like comparing the book versus the movie. As a movie in general, it is a fun little adventure. It plays off of a lot of nerdy pop culture things. So really, if you're into that kind of things, you will have an appreciation for it. With the comparisons to the book, the things that I liked is that it was able to capture the essence of the book really well. It cut out a lot of the fat, because we were having a discussion on how is Spielberg going to do it, and I compared it a lot to how he did Jurassic Park, sort of make composite things, bring things together, and then just get rid of the things that weren't necessary. And that it does really well. What I was a little bit let down off of, there is a little bit of lacking character development. There's enough to where you get the basic idea, because it's less, I feel, about the characters in the film version, and even maybe in the book or whatever, that it's more about the adventure, the journey, and rather than the overall destination. And I feel it did that really well. But I will say that I wish that there was a little bit more development on the characters, specifically Wade and Artemis, and then even more so H. I felt that there was a missed opportunity with the actress that they had playing
Without
it,
spoilers,
but without spoiling anything. But there was just some little. A little bit of a disappointment in that regard. However, for a movie that's 140 minutes, the amount that they were able to put in as much as they did, it all still really worked. My gripes with the movie aren't enough to make any of it a deal breaker. So I left the theater with a genuine smile and a good sense of, the fact is, it's been a while since I've wanted to see a movie multiple times, and I am planning on seeing it this time in 3D, because I didn't see it the first time in 3D. So right. Overall, yeah.
So I feel a lot of the same things that Justin does. This movie, to me, just felt like everything was put together. It felt like people that created this movie had passion behind their work. It really felt like the people animating, the people directing, the actors, everyone just really felt like they had a good time making this. It didn't seem like, nothing felt forced. Everything felt like it was built. The world was just amazing, and everything felt like it was in place. And it's rare in a movie, because obviously, the more and more we think about The Last Jedi, which the less and less the score goes.
That's funny. I don't think of it anymore.
I do, unfortunately. But, yeah. But the point is, this movie hit all the marks for me. We don't do number ratings, because that's stupid. Because it's really, but
I give this movie a 1, as in, if you're gonna see one movie, you should see this one.
Yeah. But not only that, the sound design in this movie was
incredible.
Unbelievable.
It was.
The fact that they were able to capture the sounds of the weapons, the vehicles, the way that they transitioned from having a scene that had no music to music, it felt like everything fit.
And like soundtrack music versus score music too. Certain things required. I believe it was Alan Silvestri who did the soundtrack for this. He has his parts come in, but then when it needs a part to where it has like an awesome 80s song or whatever, it fits in so well. And then there's like parts where it's just where it's just you're capturing the depth of the actors, and then the way that Spielberg, it's not surprising. Spielberg is Spielberg, so but he definitely did. Everybody did a fantastic job in this. Even when the parts, and a lot of times we get to the part to where I know Black Panther had huge criticisms for how bad the CGI and everything looked. I thought it was fine, but in this movie, there are parts where you're like, oh, well, it's gonna, it's
in
all
a virtual
3D.
world.
But since it's in a virtual world, it is completely forgivable, and you're not at all going to be focused on, well, it didn't look that good or whatever, because it's not supposed to be within the terms of reality. It's supposed to be in this virtual world, and that works well. It works really well.
Yeah, it just really felt like Steven Spielberg really had good inspiration, and the fact that Ernest Cline really helped with this movie throughout the whole movie, was able to help implement his book and help with the screenplay and adapt it to the big screen. And potentially we're going to get another book from him.
Player 2.
And that's awesome. That's honestly really cool. He was inspired by doing this and working with, Spielberg, that it really felt like I'm just really stoked for that.
Yeah.
Because that means a lot when you don't usually hear about authors talking about the movies that were adapted from their books
in a positive sense.
Yes.
Usually like a Witcher scenario. Well, I mean, that's video games.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, The Shining.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, or even going even further, there's so many books that have been adapted that aren't quite there. I mean, look, even like Jurassic Park, which is a very different movie than the book.
Yes, but Spielberg was still able to capture the essence of it extremely well and make just a fun adventure. More or less than anything, rather than critically analyze a movie like this, although there are depths that you could talk about, getting into the obsession that we have with escapism and everything, which is a huge theme in the book as well as the movie. It still does all these things extremely well.
Yeah.
And it really leaves you with a sense of this movie was fun. If nothing else I could say about it is this movie was so much fun.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to talk a little bit about spoilers. So we're going to put up the sign and it's going to say spoilers. And you should definitely not, if you don't know anything about this, you should definitely click. You definitely should click away. Because we're going to talk about what happens in the story, and we just don't want you to be spoiled. If you don't know, it's honestly really cool to see how it unfolds. So, yeah. So, the thing is, like, this corporate overlord, like, mentality.
Yeah.
They want the Oasis to control it and put ads on it, and they want to have control of the internet, or the Oasis or whatever. They want control of the virtual world. They want to be able to monetize it, which is ever so prevalent in video games and things that
there's a lot of parallels with net neutrality debate, and this being a thing of like in the case of this, it's one company wanting control over what we see and the content of it and how much money is making, really similar to the idea of net neutrality spread between several of the major companies. There's a lot of parallels to that. They're really minor, which is why I said you could go into this and just have a lot of fun with it, but still the discussions and parallels between the deeper themes of the book and the movie still ring true. And you could say, and it does actually allow you to think, and whether or not we're spending too much time in our virtual world. And that I really liked, but getting into more spoiler territory.
Right. So, our main character, Wade Watts, is, we already said he's, the poor kid from Columbus, Ohio, which they did change from the book. But again, we're talking about the movie. And if you haven't read the book, you should read it. So there are differences, where he's from, how he's like they don't emphasize too much on the small details and the intricate plot of who these characters are because they do it really quick.
Yeah, they bring everybody to, whereas in the book, if you haven't read it, it's a long drawn out process between
everyone meeting
Parzival
each other,
becoming number one in this hunt. It's over the course of what feels like months or years, whereas this it's everybody meets together, really quickly, conveniently. But of course, for a 2.5 hour movie, they had so much and they had to bring it all together. So in that regard, it made a lot of sense to simplify things.
Right. And so our main characters, kind of meet up with each other and stuff. But regardless, the cool thing is that it's you can make friends on the internet, and this is what it's kind of about, how that being social in the virtual world, being social online, and all that stuff, you could actually meet friends that and I mean even some I've met a lot of really cool people online and played video games with them over time. So
me too. I've
really
also met some bad ones.
Yeah. But ultimately, it's our main characters kind of meet up with each other. They're on this goal. They realize that it's not just a game. It's not just a contest to get this. Control of the Oasis is honestly something that'll change the future of mankind. And if IOI and this evil corporate overlord, they get control, it could change it for the worse. And it just kind of shows kind of how introverted people are starting to become, and it shows how these kids were able to jump into new situations. But it also talks about a lot about how people are very brash and they jump into things without really knowing and not really sure what they're doing, and honestly don't know the consequences. The movie goes through, and I mean, listen, let's be fair. this is a movie where we know the good guys win. You know, Wade's gonna solve the mysteries. It's cool. Mm-hmm. One of the crazy scenes, though, that I want to talk about that was not in the book, but was in the movie, was The Shining.
Oh, The Shining part. Probably one of the best parts of the movie.
So
Chucky.
Yeah.
There's just so much good stuff in it, man.
The Shining, the fact that The Shining was in this, and it was very well done, was amazing. I was blown away by the addition to the story that, like, putting The Shining was in.
Yeah.
Or putting The Shining into this was. It was cool. Yeah. It made sense. It also, because, you know, The Shining is just a very interesting book, and the scenery of being in this hotel was perfect for something like this.
Yeah, because what did they do in the book? They either did Breakfast Club or Fast Times at Ridgemont High. One of those where you have to reenact the scene perfectly to get, like, one of the keys later in it. They cut that part out. They instead use this they do a scene where they're in the hotel room or the cabin from The Shining. You know, even the part where the elevator opens, blood comes out. Totally have that same thing. It is so much fun.
That's got to be one of my favorite scenes of the movie, because just how well they captured the essence of The Shining in it. Like, it was just really awesome to see, like, the way and how these characters that reacted to the situations, and, like, how everything was kind of, like, built up from there. And the overall message was happy. It was a good message. I mean, them getting to the end and how, like, Wade isn't greedy and ultimately they, like, is just trying to build a better world. Like, his love interest with, you know, Samantha or Artemis was really interesting. It didn't feel forced at all. It honestly felt like two kids that weren't really sure, that have lived in this virtual world, and it kind of fits. It was quick, but, you know, you have to understand. I was gonna say, part
of me does that would have been my, like, other gripe, is I did feel the fact that he's so young made it, like, more believable. Yeah. Made it more believable, because, you know, young kids, they fall in love, like, because they're idiots. And I did feel that their dynamic was, on his end, was sort of forced, but the fact that she's sort of like, no, this isn't the time for it, made me come around to the why it was so quick for them to be, like, forced into this. And, you know, like, there was a few gripes I had, like the lacking character development with, as I was saying, H. I felt, you know,
explain that, yeah.
All right, so, like, the actress which plays her, which, Lena, and I always screw up her last name, Waithy, but she's really great. There's a fantastic episode on Master of None where it's a discussion of her character coming out. And so when you read the book and you find out that H, who he thinks is like, you know, oh, it's this big ogre dude, it's a bro, and then it turns out that, you know, it's a black lesbian, and you're like, oh, thought you were this dude. And so in the book, they discuss how she was disowned and had to go through all these things when she came out. And that's one of the reasons why perhaps her avatar is this, you know, like, big buff guy character, maybe a symbolism of her, like, being this character that her dad always wanted but never accepted. And they somewhat they just gloss over it, because, again, it is a 140-minute movie. It's not supposed to bring up all these bigger themes other than social media and an obsession with technology. So I do feel like that's you know, because she was perfectly cast with that.
It was a missed opportunity.
And it was a missed opportunity. However, you know, if there's sequels, maybe they'll expand more upon that. The fact is, they had to, because the movie is already so long and has all this other extra content that, you know, it's like you bring in all the characters, even the two, what was it, Sato and maybe Takeshi, but I could be wrong about the names on that, and if I am, I apologize. But the way that they brought them in, and then, you know, it's like a line or two for almost every character. Like, even Artemis or Samantha, this is real world consequences. My goal is to change society. And, like, she says that all, like, basically in a quick line, and it basically establishes her own character. It doesn't allow to give these characters, even Wade, it's like, oh, he lives in the stacks, but we don't really get the sense of intensity and danger and the lousiness of growing up in the stacks, because the one is the way that it's shot. He lives in the stack area, but it's shot really nice, actually. And so there's
let me pause for a second. Stacks are essentially just a trailer park, but instead of it being on the ground, it's just trailers stacked on top.
So although it looks like a shithole, the way it's presented is, it's like, like, even when there's the part where his aunt and her piece of shit boyfriend get blown up, the sense of danger wasn't as high as it was in the book because they're, again, they're moving the story along. So there's like a few things here and there that I'm like, that's not as great as it was in the book. It's an
adaptation.
And also I felt the reveal on who H wasn't as powerful as it was in the book. Little things like here, it's like, that was lacking, but overall, still awesome. Right. Still awesome.
And it really just comes down to it's hard to put everything in one thing. And
especially the 2.5 hour.
And let's be realistic. It really didn't matter for the plot, and they needed to further it.
Yeah.
Now,
to their credit, they didn't have any unnecessary scenes like in a casino for some reason to just stop off for no reason.
Yeah, because they had some general asshole that decided to not tell them.
But that's okay. If you want Joseph Gordon-Levitt to explain to me why a casino scene would be necessary, I'm all ears. Some film directors need their friends to defend them. Some people,
The Last Jedi.
Some people are Spielberg.
Yeah, some people are Spielberg, and other people are huge pieces of shit.
Although he did do Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Not his fault.
You know what? You get one pass after. He's got a lot. He's not a Ryan Johnson. He's not stupid.
Yeah.
He did it, but
Getting back to positive things, Ready Player One, awesome. Like I can't emphasize it enough. I really want to see it again, so I'm going to later this week, and it's worth your time. If you care about nerdy pop culture, if you're into video games and that old stuff, you are going to like it. If you're a person who watches the Kardashians and that's your thing, I mean, you might have fun. You won't even watch
this review. And if you watch the Kardashians, to be honest with you, you should stop watching that because that's trash TV.
Hey, no. You got to just live your truth.
No, you just need to stop. Those people are that's trash. I don't care about that.
So, I mean, really, I feel I've said everything I need to say about it. It was an enjoyable movie. I can't praise it enough. It's not the best movie I've ever seen, but it's a movie that I want to see multiple times, which is extremely rare for someone like me who is a critical jerk.
This will be a classic Spielberg movie that will be rewatched over and over again by many people. It's definitely something that I look at as being, as influential as movies like Jurassic Park and things like that, especially going forward. Yeah. I know some people have said, well, won't the pop cultures or the things used in it, won't they expire? And I'm like, no, they really won't because they're such important things. The fact of the matter is, Steven Spielberg was his son was a huge video game fan. He was a fan of video games himself and a lot of this stuff. Yeah. And it showed. And honestly, go see it.
Yeah. Go see it again. It's 2.5 hours, but the pacing in it is so much fun and goes so well that it doesn't even feel like it's 2.5 hours.
You'll go see it. You'll probably want to go see it again because you want to try to spot all the little things. So that's our review. I mean, there's really I really don't have anything truly negative to say about this movie. I mean, this movie is. I haven't felt like this since I watched The Force Awakens. That was the last movie that made me feel like when I walked out of the theater, just glowing with nostalgia and hope and feeling good. And there's other movies like Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and all those movies, great movies. But this this is its own thing. So, anyways, I mean, I think that's all we have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry that was long and drawn out because we have this is the best we can do with saying it without just sitting here for hours talking about.
Or we can get analytical.
Yeah, we could sit here and talk about all this cool Easter eggs that were in the movie and shit. Maybe we'll do a video on that after we see it again, or a second and third or fourth time, depending on if we do that. But either way, thanks for watching. Again, I'm this guy.
And I'm Justin, and have fun and keep on gaming.
Yeah, and comment and subscribe and like it. And if you have negative things, fuck you. So, yeah. Bye.
Bye.